welcome back to the Phoenix Way mini live challenge. I'm Lindsay Setchell. I'm just waiting for our Instagram to pop up so it can go live, and it's amazing to have you here. Let's just press that go live. There we go. So I'm Lindsay Setchell, and it's amazing to have you here for day 10. I can't believe it's day 10 already. Day 10. Oh God, what's it going to be like when we're all here at 365 days? What topics can we talk about for that many days? Well, I can talk to the cows come home, so you all know about that. So I can definitely talk for many middies for more than 365 days. Anyway, okay. So, there's a call coming in. So today we're going to take on some of the most common misconceptions about barefoot horses, and I've called this session Busting Myths About Barefoot Horses. We've all heard them. We know they're out there, and usually always the people that say them are people who have never properly gone barefoot. And what does barefoot mean? It doesn't mean just taking the shoes off. It doesn't mean your horse wandering around without shoes on. It means so much more than that, doesn't it? We've heard them all. Oh, my horse can't go barefoot. Oh, my horse can't go barefoot because of insert myth. This is the session for you if you have heard all of those things, or even maybe, and you know they're not true, or maybe this is a session for you if you've heard those things and you're not sure that maybe they might be true. They might just be true. But before we get into those myths, let us say hello to all the lovely people that are joining already. So Heather's here. Hello, Heather. Hi from a chilly East Midlands, says Heather, in the UK. Oh yeah, it's pretty chilly here. I've just been outside just before I went on the live, and I thought, oh, it's pretty cold. Georgie Williams here. Hello from Dorset in the UK. Stella Galax here. Eek, I just woke up in time. Morning from Australia. Goodness me, what time do you go to bed and what time do you wake up? Because it's the middle of the night. Gail Dretch, hello from Minnesota. Marianne, howdy all. Angie Medler's here. Hello from Virginia. Jeanette Desar's here. Hello, hi all. Bonsoir. Anita Pepper's here. Howdy Muppets. Howdy. Stop it. It's been going around my head all day long. Pia's here. Hello, Pia. Lovely to see you. Teresa's here. Hello. Trisha Ann's here. Hi, Trisha Ann. Sunshine's here. Hello from a snowy Tennessee. And Ali Halfpenny's here. And there's a bunch of others too, but I'm going to do your shout outs in a minute. All right, so let's get into it. So we're talking today about busting myths about barefoot horses. We've all heard them. They've all been out there. So let's debunk this one, that barefoot horses can't perform or compete as well as shod horses. This, I think, is probably one of the most common myths out there, because there are an awful lot of people who do quite a bit with their horses. They're out there, they're doing endurance, they're doing dressage, they're doing show jumping, they're doing eventing, all of the trek, so many different disciplines that they do. And the overriding belief is that in order to get really good at that, you definitely have to have shoes on your horse, and that barefoot horses simply just couldn't perform at the same level as shod horses. But that's not the truth. The truth is barefoot horses can absolutely excel in competition and performance, and there are absolutely countless examples to prove it. I remember when I started Hoofing Marvelous way back in the day, and we've got so used to people ribbing us online. It's just part of everyday life now, and because we do something different to the rest of the world. And I remember there was a farrier group. It used to be called Boobs, Booted Out of the Barefooters, it was called. And it was on Facebook. And I think it still survives. I think that I don't see it much nowadays, but I think it's still there. And oh, what a den. What a den that was. You would come out of there licking windows if you got in there and survived for very long. And I remember them scoffing. I remember them laughing heartily and saying, "Oh, it's just a fad, barefoot." I mean, really? Mother Nature's natural foot is just a fad. It really does show the domestic world in such a poor light that when you compare horses that are out in the wild that don't have any human intervention, who can perform far better than any of these horses in any of these disciplines, and then you compare those with domestic horses and they can't cope without shoes, and there's a reason they can't cope. So it really shines a really poor light on us in the domestic world, doesn't it? Anyway, they used to say, "Oh, ha ha, there, come back, my lovelies, when they're winning at the Olympics." Well, didn't take much long. It wasn't much longer after that, and Tokyo came along, and we had Peder Fredriksson and Enric von Enric von. I can't remember the surname now. Anyway, why is that gone? Put it in the comments. Remind me. They won on their horses, and they were. I think Enric's horse actually went through the Olympics, that whole Olympics that year, and didn't drop a whole a pole on the entire time in the entire Olympics. Now, I think they went on, some of them went on to carry on at barefoot. I think some got shod afterwards. I don't know. I don't really know the full history. But what I do know is that that was just one example of how well horses can do when they've got no shoes on. And I'm pretty sure that those horses weren't particularly kept in the way that really does encourage health of the hoof, because I know that they had gone on and previously they'd been shod, and maybe afterwards as well. So but just even those horses that were taken to that level were able to jump and perform barefoot to the highest of levels. So that kind of was blown out of the water, and everybody kind of quietened down when that happened. And it's disciplines like endurance, particularly endurance, where barefoot horses are excelling now. You've only got to look at the Tevis Cup and how many horses are in the top 15 and 16 that are barefoot and booted. Horses that have boots on for doing endurance doesn't mean to say that they are, people go, "Oh, but they're not barefoot." Well, their feet are working like a barefoot horse. They still have their natural hoof mechanism. Nothing is clamped to that foot to stop it from moving. They have a composite rubbery kind of material on them which flexes like the foot does. The shoe doesn't. And even when you have these other supposed composite shoes that are nailed on, they aren't the same as just putting a boot on. Of course, boots have other issues that can affect horses when they're competing, and I think the main issue is actually with the human, because there are so many disciplines that still don't allow it. And you're going to hang on a minute. If you allow a shod horse, why won't you allow a barefoot horse with boots on? That just seems a bit silly. I think it's changing now. I think the world is less inflammatory about it now. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't spend a lot of time in the showing and the competing sector, not anymore. When I ran the Barefoot Horse magazine for 11 years, we ran that magazine, and every single issue we would make sure that there would be some kind of article talking about how marvelous barefoot horses did in all of these disciplines, to very high levels as well, because people and people that weren't in the barefoot world, who didn't read the Barefoot Horse magazine, didn't know these things because they were part of the traditional shod world, so they didn't listen, and they read other magazines that shoved all sorts of feeds down their horse's neck and showed you lots of oils to put on the horse's foot, and how to shoe the horse's foot, and lots of farrier articles and about shoeing and how marvelous it is, etc. And the Barefoot Horse magazine, we didn't do any of that, of course. We talked about how amazing barefoot horses are doing around the world internationally. So it's just a myth. It's just a myth. You, all of these disciplines, horses that are barefoot can thrive and do really, really well and can compete just at the same level and be better than their shod counterparts. And in fact, in show jumping around the world, particularly in Europe, they are very much starting to go the barefoot way. Very, very much starting to look at barefoot. There are less injuries. There are less tendon, ligament, soft tissue injuries. We know that now. There's been a big piece of research that was done by which was funded by Agria Insurance, which is one of the biggest pet insurance companies in Europe, and they funded that, and they had Peder Fredriksson there, and Henrik von Ekman has just come to me. Peder Fredriksson was there, and they were looking at shod versus barefoot horses. So they're starting to look at it now. And if you've got insurance companies getting in on looking at the difference between barefoot and shod, you know that the only reason they're doing that is for money, because they're spending out a lot of money on injuries with horses, and they want to know that if is a barefoot horse going to be a better bet, and they're not going to get injured quite as much. And maybe that means that if you shoe your horse, the premiums are going to go up. Who knows? This is all what's going to come in the future. But it is a myth. It's a common myth that horses just can't compete or perform as well as barefoot horses can't compete or perform as well as shod horses. It's just a myth. Performance, folks, is not about the shoes. It's not about that piece of metal that you've put on the bottom of the horse's foot and suddenly it's like a Nike trainer or something, that it makes the horse do better. It's not about that. Barefoot is about health. It's about balance, and it's about preparation. The key to success when you're looking at competition is proper conditioning, isn't it? Proper conditioning, proper care. Transitioning a horse to barefoot requires time and the right management. And therefore, then the results will speak for themselves. Well, they certainly did in our magazine that we published for 11 years. And right in the early days, when we first started publishing the magazine way back in 2013, in the early days, it was a little bit difficult for me to get articles of people doing competition. I went searching for them, but they started coming in, and then gradually we were just inundated with them, and we had lots and lots and lots of articles and rehab articles too. It was a great magazine, and it ran for 11 years, and in that 11 years we published countless articles in every single discipline, including racing, of how horses excelled at barefoot. What about this next myth? What about thoroughbreds? What about horses like thoroughbreds? They can't go barefoot because they've had their foot bred off them. How about that one? So there's this genetic misconception that thoroughbreds are weak, that thoroughbreds and some certain other breeds, they can't go barefoot because their hooves are just too weak. They're too poor, and they've had the foot bred off them. That's just silly, because let me tell you that this is more about a perception than a reality. We have in the magazine published so many articles where thoroughbreds have been rehabbed and they've gone on to be amazing barefoot horses. It's in here that the main problem is, the main stumbling block, because we think that thoroughbreds are delicate breeds and they need to be looked after differently, and they can't go barefoot. But in fact, they absolutely can, with the proper care, the proper nutrition, which is just the same as all the other horses, and the proper management, just the same as all the other horses. Thoroughbreds can do fine. the weakness that people see when they see poor hooves, and they see, because thoroughbreds, you've got to understand, usually naturally are quite low heeled, and when they start being shod at an early age, and that is very, very common for these animals because they're fed all kinds of incorrect feeds, lots of grass, lots of feeds that are going to cause inflammatory issues in their bodies from when they're very, very small, when they're foals, and when they're growing. These horses are stuffed full of stuff stuffed full of feeds that are going to make them have problems in their bodies and their feet. And so therefore, when they try to do stuff with them, they think, no, the best thing that we can do here is we can just shoe these horses. Let's just shoe them because they're not going to cope. And then they get shod at an early age. And because they're naturally low-heeled animals, they don't, oftentimes, they don't perform as well in the future when the shoes are taken off and people just try to go barefoot. They tend to be horses which take longer to rehab because the back of the foot has been damaged so much. We call that caudal hoof failure, when the back of the foot has been damaged so much because of the shoeing, because of what the shoeing has done. Now, many people will go, oh, no, that doesn't happen. Well, we know it does now. So there's pointless you even saying that, because we do know that happens. So weak hooves, or the horses that seem footy and aren't sound, particularly thoroughbreds, it's not a result of the fact that they were born with weak feet. It's a result of poor diet, environmental factors, lifetime of shoeing. It's nothing to do with genetics, because good diet and good management and good hoof care trumps genetics every time. With the right support, all breeds of horses, of course, every single breed of horse who people maybe have thought had poor feet can go barefoot. They can transition to barefoot, and they can develop these strong functional hooves. Who've we got joining us on Instagram? We've got Meta in Whole Block. We've got Briar. Hello, Briar. Lovely to see you. We've got Beatrice Gates Hardiman. We've got Anne Chopra. We've got Laura. It's lovely to see you on Instagram. Let's have a bit more of the old shout outs here then on what have we got going on. Oh, Rika's here. Hello from France, rainy, but nothing weird happening. Thought to those who struggle. Absolutely. Again, our hearts go out to everybody in California. My word. I was watching after the lives last night, after mine and Gary's live. I went to watch the news, and my word, the devastation. It's like it's an apocalypse, isn't it? It's incredible. It's really is terrible. Jenny Ackerston's here. Hello from Sweden. Garvin Ranch is here. Howdy from Wisconsin. Natalie's here. Hi from Germany. Angela Garberg's here. Bonsoir. Happy Friday, all. We have spring here, 16 degrees. How lovely. It's not reached us yet, Angela. Just blow it up to us if you can. It is here. Hello. Joe Moss is here from Ireland, a frozen island. Hi, Joe. Sarah Lou is here from one of the little tiny islands off the west coast of Scotland. A great day for trimming today. It was. Great successes. Big milestones reached, Sarah. Well done. It's good to hear. Connie Twa is here. Hello from the Rocky Mountains in Canada. Wow, that's amazing. Aston Burnett is here. Hi from a sunny South Africa. I think it's just me that's not getting any sun today. Even I've been seeing really snowy pictures today and with lovely sunshine. Not for me. Monica says, hello from Czech. It's lovely to see you, Monica. Jenny says, Eckermann. That's right. Enric von Eckermann. My brain was saying Eckermann, Enric von Eckermann, and then it went, no, it's not. So I didn't say it. Anyway, it is. There you go. Thank you very much. Jill's here. Hello from Seattle in Washington. Deanna Hunter's here. Hi, all from Washington. Oh, so you're both from Washington. Oh, is it Washington State? Seattle in Washington State and Washington, D.C. That's confusing for us people that don't live in America. Georgie Williams, yeah, Enric von Eckermann. Gail says, still embarrassed about the stupid question I asked yesterday. I've forgotten it. It's gone. It's gone. I can't even remember it. If anybody wants to know what Gail said, go back and have a look at yesterday's live. or don't, because she's embarrassed about it. Tula's here. Hi all. Hi all. It's lovely to see you, Tula. Michelle Quinn Mallory says, I don't and never understood why they say a performance horse needs heel for traction along with shoes. It's people who say that are not people who know how to properly keep a horse barefoot. It's not about just taking the shoes off. Again, that's personal preference, isn't it, Michelle? It's all personal preference shoeing, personal preference trimming. She says, Michelle says, why do they keep thinking thoroughbreds have NPA and wedge them? I see this so much and I don't understand why. Because they're naturally low-heeled. They are naturally, mostly. You get the odd thoroughbred that isn't quite as low-heeled, but naturally they are a breed that's naturally low-heeled. Why? Because they are fast. And that low-heel, nice frog, that really efficient shock absorbing system at the back for them, for all horses, but particularly for thoroughbreds, means that they can run fast. They can really run fast. But the problem is that if you're not careful, it's very easy with naturally low-heeled animals to have an NPA, i.e. you can't balance to the toe. You think you are, but you're not. I guarantee to you, I have seen it over and over and over again. Show me a thoroughbred foot that's got an NPA and I'll show you one that obviously isn't balanced, right? And that people think they're balancing, but they just aren't. They just aren't. And of course, when they put those shoes on, sometimes what they do is when they want frog contact, they will take their heels down even lower to put the shoe on so that the frog gets contact. And then they leave the toe too long. And then when they take the shoe off, then you've got more problems. It's fairly easily resolved. The biggest problem that these horses face when they've been shod from a young age, these low-heeled hoofed animals, is that they get caudal hoof failure. And that's really a disaster for them, because the digital cushion hasn't been allowed to develop properly. It's stayed relatively immature. And the frog, therefore, which is covering the digital cushion, isn't as effective as it should be. They become contracted. They start to have real issues at the back of the foot. And that's such a shame. And only humans did that. The horse never needed to have a foot like that. That was just humans doing that. Christina says, have the case you're talking about with my thoroughbred. He was fed wrong and shod, and everyone told me he could never go barefoot. The process was longer for him, right, than for other horses that weren't shod, but he's now doing perfectly fine, and I wouldn't think of putting shoes back on him ever. Lovely hearing you, Lindsay. Wishing you all the best for the new year, Ben and Tina. Thank you, Ben and Tina. That's brilliant. And it just takes a little longer, because when these horses come out of shoes, the back of the foot has really taken a big hit, and it just takes time. They're not naturally thin-soled. They're not naturally weak. None of that is true. But I tell you something else that happens with thoroughbreds is because they've been fed so badly for so long that their guts get affected too. And we know how the gut health is so important for health. So for hoof health, for body health, for everything. And it's about turning that animal back around again. And it just takes a little bit longer, sometimes, a lot of the time, but it still can be done. And if they're not shod, oh my goodness, if you've ever come across thoroughbred horses that have never been shod, and they're few and far between, but it will happen gradually over time. You will see more and more of them that have never been shod. They have amazing feet if they've been kept properly, and the person who's kept them has understood about diet management and hoof care. Washington State. Melanie's here from Pennsylvania. Hello, made it. YouTube stopped giving me notifications, so I have to get fixed quick so I don't miss anything. Deanna says, Port Orchard, Washington State. Hi, Jill in Seattle. It's good that you guys are close to each other. Ish. I don't know. Are you close? Can every horse go barefoot? Are there any exceptions? No, there are no exceptions, because shoes basically cause more problems than good. You will find 101 farriers who will tell you that that is not true. But I can tell you it is true. That shoeing inevitably will start to cause problems. And it's not just in the foot, because these feet aren't allowed to have the natural hoof mechanism that they should have. The problem begins when you have horses, and I think the worst scenario for a hoof care professional is not dealing with rotation, not dealing with penetration. Obviously, osteonecrosis is appalling, but there's nothing we can do about that once P3 has started to degenerate. But let's say P3 is okay. The worst scenario for us are horses that have caudal hoof failure. These are often lighter breed horses. These are horses like thoroughbreds, which have been shod from an early age, and it's caused the back of the foot to break down. And these are the ones that are the hardest to go to transition back to a comfortable foot barefoot. But it is possible. But you have to be absolutely on it when it comes to exactly the right trim. You definitely cannot have a trim on a thoroughbred that is invasive. And we see lots of invasive trims, right? You start taking the toe off a thoroughbred and you're going to have real problems. You got to get the heels right. You got to get the balance. Has got to be spot on. There are so many things that have to be just perfect. You have to get the diet really good, because their guts have been messed about with. And you have to get the management good as well. So no, I have never come across a horse that can't go barefoot. Never, not once. I've been doing this nearly 25 years, and I've never ever come across a horse that can't go barefoot. I've come across horses that take longer to transition, and horses that have given their owners lots of heartache as they've transitioned, but getting it right, they can. I've also come across a lot of horses that were doing absolutely fine, but their owners just couldn't cope. They were on the good rehab pathway and the owners went back to shoes. So no, all horses can go barefoot. It's an owner thing, really. It's how much effort you're prepared to put into it. And frankly, if you're going to buy yourself a thoroughbred, you need to be able to put that effort in, right? Know what you're getting yourself into when you do that. Jill says, Jeanette says, sorry, my evening friends say their horses, venting friends say their horses can't go barefoot because they have to put studs on. No, it's rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish. Barefoot horses don't slip more than shod horses. These are people who have never kept barefoot horses and healthy bare feet. They don't slip any more than shod horses. They don't need studs. They just, in fact, if you think about it, it's the metal, shiny, skiddy metal. That's why they're having to put studs in. So these are just myths that are created by people who have never successfully, properly transitioned horses to barefoot and got them to that level. It's harder to do that because you've got to condition these feet. Okay, crikey, I must go on. I've gone on and on and on. What about the myth that only horses you don't ride very much can go barefoot? Well, we can debunk that idea. We can debunk that idea because horses that only have low-level activity lifestyles are the only ones that can go barefoot is rubbish, because it assumes that barefoot horses can't handle regular riding or work. In reality, honestly, barefoot horses can handle everything from the leisurely trail ride to very, very intensive training schedules. They can handle it. It's about conditioning the body, the hooves, the mind, just like it is on any other horse. They need time to adapt. And we've got to remember that these horses that are shod do not have the feet that they should have. And that will compromise them every single time. Every time. I have never, ever, in all the years I've done this, taken a shoe off a horse's foot and found a healthy one underneath. Not ever. Not ever. Horses they need time to adapt with their hooves. And if you've kept horses barefoot all their lives, they don't. But horses that are transitioning do. They need time to adapt to different terrains, different workloads. But once they do, their hooves are perfectly capable of performing. In the wild, horses that travel miles a day barefoot over every single really rough terrain you can imagine ever, we wouldn't be able to walk over it. We'd stumble, we'd break our ankles, we'd struggle. It would be hard going. But they can run, trot, canter over these terrains. It doesn't matter whether you're riding daily or occasionally. A barefoot horse can thrive just like every other horse. What about barefoot horses can only go, you can only keep a barefoot horse if it's on a track. You know, the idea that horses that only live on that specific terrain can be barefoot. No, because when you go out riding, you can go over all sorts of surfaces. It's gravel surfaces, rocky surfaces, hard ground. If they are healthy, they've got healthy bare feet, they can do all of that. They can navigate all of those challenging surfaces easily and comfortably. Everything that a shod horse can do, barefoot horses can do, and they can do it better. What about things like barefoot horses can't handle wet conditions, or transitioning barefoot barefoot is cruel? That's a big one in livery yards. It takes time, it takes care, but it definitely isn't cruel. We have to flip that backwards and think about what devastation and degeneration and the issues that shoes are causing. We really need to think very carefully about that. Shoes are not there because they are necessary for protection, because nowadays we've got hoof boots, and you can get hoof boots in all different sizes, and your horse shouldn't be relying on the hoof boots, but when you're transitioning, they're an absolutely excellent alternative to metal shoes, of course. And they're also really good if you're using your horses on abrasive surfaces and they've not completely conditioned. They're amazing because the hoof mechanism can still work. So a very quick last shout out, very, 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 very quick last shout out to people. I've got Comet the Welsh Stallion, who Comet the Welsh Stallion joined on Instagram. Oh my God, I'm 32 minutes. Hurry up. So the takeaway today is barefoot horses, people, are capable, they're adaptable, they're resilient, and if we address their needs through proper care and conditioning and management, I can tell you they can thrive in a huge wide range of activities. So think about one myth. Today's challenge for you. Think about one myth that you've heard me talk about today, or that you've heard other people say. Come on, I'm sure you can think of them. And share it in the comments or chat to your friends about it. And please let us keep working together to keep debunking this. We've been doing it in the Barefoot Horse magazine and with Hoofing Marvelous for decades now. We've been debunking these myths. Thank you, people. Thank you, my lovely Phoenix warriors and beyond, for joining me. And tomorrow we're going to go and have a look at another topic. I want you to really understand, and I want you to care for your horse's hooves. And I want you to understand that barefoot performance and all of these myths are all born, lack of barefoot performance. And all of these myths are born from people who have never properly followed barefoot. They might tell you they have. I can tell you they won't have, because barefoot is not just about taking the shoes off. Okay, until next time, take care of yourself and your horse. And remember, the Phoenix Way is a way that we are growing stronger together, raising the standards of hoof care and horse care around the world. So until tomorrow, my lovelies, I'll say goodbye. 30 minutes. All right, now, take it easy. Bye-bye. Bye.